And the 7th day is done. Once again, I managed to hit 200 for 1. That makes it 7 days in a row. It's been a crazy week. It goes down as the best week of my training life, period. I've never done anything like this in the past. The most remarkable thing for me is that I was able to recover from session to session to session. I'm not working my normal schedule. I'm resting a lot. I'm eating a lot. So I've had a really good week altogether. But even with that in place, I'm really surprised that I was able to recover from these sessions that I've been doing for the last 7 days. So basically, I've been doing pin squats. I've been doing basically 98% of my max every single day for 1. And it just keeps kind of playing on in my mind. This recovery thing is incredible. I think the fact that my body is able to recover every single day to reproduce 98% of my previous max is remarkable to me. It gets me thinking about the whole Bulgarian method and what actually inspired me to start thinking about doing this years ago. Now that I've basically got to this stage where I can reproduce this type of performance every single day, it's making me believe that this Bulgarian thing is not so undoable in a way. Obviously, I'm not a paid professional athlete, so I have to go to work and I have to do all this sort of stuff to kind of keep food on the table and whatever. But if I had the time, I don't think it's too far-fetched anymore to squat every single day, 2 or 3 times a day. You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to hit 200 kilos for 1. Now, it's just a question of volume, how much volume I do on these pin squats. Basically, the pin squats are the most difficult thing for me to recover from. So if I remove the pin squats, I can see myself doing these 200 kilos for 1 twice a day. Now, obviously, there's supplements involved, and we all know what the speculations are from the time the Bulgarians did this and whatever. But I truly think the hardest thing to recover from, after all this time that I've squatted every single day, the hardest thing to recover from is that emotional drive. So if you're listening to hardcore music, if you're getting emotionally invested and you're psyching yourself up, you're using ammonia, somebody's slapping you in the face and you're going up to the bar, that type of performance is very difficult to reproduce, because when you heighten your arousal level and you heighten your kind of adrenal glands, everything's kind of pumping, that has a very long recovery curve, if you will. But if you lift calm, in a calm condition every single day, I don't think it's foolish to expect you to lift 95%, 90% of your 1 rep max every single day, possibly even twice a day. Now, I've never done this for a good stretch of time. I've done it in the past where I've kind of worked up to the heaviest I could, but I don't think I ever worked up to like 90% of my max multiple times a day. I was saying to my cameraman, I would love the opportunity to do that somehow, to test this thing out, whether I can kind of have a morning session and a night session where I basically just sprint up to the top and touch a 95+% weight. I think that will be really interesting, because right now, with the absence of my hip pain, with the appropriate recovery, food, all that stuff, sleep, I've been recovering really, really well, And the fact that I've been touching 200 kilos every single one and feels like the bar is moving better and better every single day, he's just making me think, man. He's just making me think, where is the boundary? Where is the ceiling for recovery? I've surprised myself by this week, essentially. I know a lot of you guys get surprised by me and how much workload I can take and how much I can process. But this week has surprised me. I did not expect... I hit it once, twice, 3 times. I was all right. He's going to catch up to me eventually. It's been 7 days. And I'm expecting on the 8th day, I'll probably get it again. And the 9th day, probably get it again. It's probably going to continue until I go back to work in whatever, a week time. It'll be interesting to see how the work schedule, with the kind of that gets reintroduced into my life, how that impacts me. Because if the work schedule comes back in and I start dropping to 180, 170, 160, then I can start kind of working out some conclusions here. Okay, so really the recovery was the most important factor here. By the way, guys, here, you're seeing me do these spin squats. I wanted to do 5. I did 4 there. So for whatever reason, weights felt heavier today on these spin squats. The pump in the lower back was mean, but nevertheless, I was able to hit 200 on the back squat. You'll also see later on in this video, in a couple of moments, that I tried 210. I was not in a mental shape or physical state to actually hit this 210. I was very fatigued, but nevertheless, I decided to touch 210 for the sake of touching 210. I wanted to load it up, walk it out, do the eccentric portion, and drop it. I knew the moment I unracked that 210 that it wasn't going to be in me. I mean, the pin squats murdered me today. For whatever reason, the pin squats really finished me today. So I think the next time I come around to these pin squat sessions, so not tomorrow, but the next day, I'm going to squat first, and I'm going to do the pin squat second, just so I can see what the difference is when I'm kind of recovered a little bit. So tomorrow's going to be a light session. I'll just sprint up to 200 and that's it. But that's on the back of today, right? Today's been a heavy session with doubles. I did 5 lots of doubles at 180. So lots of work there. So tomorrow's going to be a sloppy session, a kind of quick session. But then the session after that, so in 2 days' time, I'm going to come in with basically an easier session of tomorrow, and then the following day, I reckon I'll be able to do something with 210. I don't know. No promises. All the regulation is always the master. I'll continue to do that. But I really want to see what the difference is when I do the squats before the pin squats. So let's see how that goes. But the recovery, that's been on my mind now. I almost, I don't want to say it, but I can't wait to go back to work just to see the difference in my training. Obviously, when you wake up like at 4:30 in the morning, you've had like 5-6 hours sleep, you won't be able to reproduce, good efforts often in those states. But the fact that I am now, I want to say at least 2-3 weeks clear of any hip pain. Man, I mean, I don't want to say it, I don't want to jinx it, but I've got really good hopes in the next month or two of training. I've dreamed about this for a long time, man. Just a nice stretch of training where I don't have any niggling freaking issues in my body. I can just get after it, train, and not worry about pushing out of the hole. 200 today felt kind of slower, whatever, but there was no pain, man. Just the fact that there's no pain, that I can just not even worry about that. That's a beautiful thing. So I've got something good going on here. As I was loading these yellow plates, I don't know what it is about these yellow plates. The moment I put that yellow plate on, my heart started racing. I started getting nervous. I started picturing what that weight is. Matt Perryman talks about this in his book, man. Your sensory, your emotional makeup dictates how your physical performance is going to go. If you shit yourself mentally, and that kind of, starts up these certain emotions, it gets very, very difficult for your body physically to perform. So the fact that my body was like, oh man, this is 210, this is 210, this is 4 blues and a yellow, oh my god, I started thinking about these thoughts to myself. I just started feeling nervous, my heart rate was going up, and I don't like my heart rate up before I even touch the bar. That's not a good sign. I like to lift calm, silently approach the bar with confidence. When I have that, man, so there's a massive component to this. The reason why I decided to do this today was just basically just to touch it. Touch 210, get exposed to 210 more frequently, and then next time I come around and I'm physically ready and not pre-exhausted by the pin squats, man, I reckon this is just around the corner. So check this out. So I just went down. That's all I wanted to do. I knew at the moment I unracked that it wasn't going to be even a fight to the sticking point. I knew today was going to be a drag. But anyway, I did it. I'm proud that I did it. I stripped the bar back to bare, put the bar back up on the J cups, put 180 back up on the bar, and I did 5 doubles at 180, and that was the workout. So and that 180 felt so damn light because I just had 210 on my back. So I think the mental portion in all of this man, the mind is king. The mind is king. It's all a mindset, man. Truly, I believe this. So I think there's a lot of benefit for us to be exposed to super maximal weights. Put physical stuff on the side, just purely mental. When you have 210 on your back, it does something. When you have 240 on your back on the pin squats, it does something to you. You teach yourself how to brace. Okay, so your quads and your glutes and your hamstrings might not be strong enough to lift that particular weight through the full range of motion, but loading them up in a smaller range of motion does something to your spinal column, through all those weird muscles, intricate muscles around the spinal cord, your core. I've been feeling my obliques contract with the pin squats like never before. Never. I literally feel the transverse abdominis like locking me up when I'm doing these pin squats. And if you do your pin squats, I've learned this in the last sort of week, if you do your pin squats, really come down to a stop, because that, breaking that inertia from dead stop, that's a different beast to just bouncing off the bar. So I'm a big believer. I know Paul Anderson did it. I know George Lehman. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's like American record holder, I think, in a deadlift. I mean, the guy was a savage deadlifter. He's not really all that active with his YouTube channel at the moment, but I used to watch it back in the day. He talked about his PROM deadlift program, which stands for Progressive Range of Motion program. So he basically just had people start in a rack, position, and he would just basically do these rack, holds. Go to and then as the weeks progress, he would just lower the pins, the safety pins, and he would just continue doing rack pulls until it gets to the floor. So he was a big believer of that. There's something about heavy ass weight in your hands, on your back. He teaches your organism how to survive under a heavy weight. And the recovery portion is really interesting to me. I used to think about, you can't squat 95 to 100% every single day, like it's going to burn you out. I think you can, but you just have to be emotionally not invested in that lifting. It's the emotional side, the mental side that really drains you the most. See, 5 doubles at 180, went smooth as anything. After that, I moved up to the bench press. I did the 10-minute bench press session. After that, I did leg extensions. That was the day. I was exhausted. After today. Yesterday, I was also exhausted after the psoas curls. So I've been training like crazy for the last week. I feel like I've been training like a professional athlete. I've been really getting after it, really pushing hard, which makes me think now whether I should kind of let go of the pin squats for a few days and then come back and see what I can do. But the fact that I have another week or so of annual leave, I just want to continue this momentum, continue pushing, getting after it, and see if I can just continue pushing the volume and the intensity, and then maybe a few days before I go back to work, I'll try and shave off some of this fatigue, and maybe I can put something decent on the bar and do it. But it's a special time for me right now, man. 7 days in a row. It has me questioning a lot of the things I had kind of concluded in my mind about recovery, about Bulgarian. I just keep thinking about the Bulgarian guys, man. Like, man, if you're feeling 100% healthy and nothing is hurting, and you're engaging that central nervous system through some sort of supermaximal weight. I know the Bulgarians didn't really have a lot of exercise selection. They did front squats, back squats. I think they did like snatch and clean and jerk, and that was it. I don't think they had too many other variations. But if you can kind of somehow wake up your central nervous system with these pin squats, I don't know. I'm trying to precipitate these ideas in my head, whether weighing up between recovery, that's been crazy for me in the last week, and the pin squats. Honestly, like, I don't know. I think the recovery is definitely a factor, but the fact that my body's been getting used to handling 240 kilos, it's doing something, man. It's absolutely doing something. And when I read stuff about the history of like Paul Anderson, how he got strong and progressive range of motion, then you guys are telling me about people using bench press and bench pressing off blocks and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, there must be something to it, man. I don't know whether it's a nervous system, whether it's your joints, your ligaments, your tendons getting stronger under weight. There's so many aspects to this that I don't think it's as simple as, it's just a central nervous system, and it's just a recovery. There's more to it. There's absolutely more to it. I wonder if some of you guys have said, why don't you drop the pins in the like a bit lower in the pin squats, a little bit lower. If I go, the lower I go, the less weight I'm going to have on the bar, and then eventually I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to have basically the same weight I would have in a normal squat, and I don't think there's any point in doing that. I think the point is to overload with super maximal weight. I think that's the key ingredient here. Because if you think about it like this, if my pin squat goes from 240 kilos for set of 5, or it was a set of 4 today, and I start doing 280 in a quarter squat position, man, I just simply do not see my squat, my normal full ATG squat, staying at 200. If you can pin squat at a quarter squat 280 kilos, I'm sorry, man, but I reckon you're a lot more stronger than 200 ATG. So in a way, I'm thinking about this as, okay, let's just think about progressing the pin squats, and then everything else will follow. That's kind of my gut feeling right now. Because if you're handling 240, 200 it feels like a dream. So my central nervous system is getting ready for 240 every single day. And so 200 for ATG is nothing, man. It feels like a breeze. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Some more freaking thoughts in my head. Hopefully it makes sense to you. Hopefully you get something out of it. I'll catch you guys tomorrow for another one. Peace out.